Hey guys! With update 1.3, Zhongli finally lives up to his Archon status thanks to the several buffs he received. If you want to see all the buffs he got, I'll have the update notes linked below and you can read all about them there. Definitely give it a read if you haven't yet. He got several DPS and supportive buffs. I'll even put them on screen in case you don't want to go to the link. You do have to pause now though if you want time to read it all. Anyway, the god who dominated the Archon War is here in all of his glory. Not only is he an incredibly powerful physical main DPS that can tear his way through basically anything, adds and bosses alike, but he's also an incredibly powerful support that can protect and even buff his teammates, making them near unkillable powerhouses. And he can even do both of those things at the same time, and not many units in the game are like that. Most units focus on one role at one time, but Zhongli can DPS, tank, and support all at the same time, and if you have C6, he can be a healer too. Now obviously many of us don't have him at C6, but even without it he still fills a lot of different roles, and he fills them very well. The one I'm using in this video is C0 by the way. But yeah, let's go ahead and go over all the different ways you can build him and turn him into an absolute monster. We'll go ahead and go over the DPS focused builds first. Weapon wise, Crescent Pike is his best 4-star weapon for DPS. Its secondary stat is physical, and that's good because most of your attacks are gonna be physical. For 5 stars, Vortex Vanquisher and Primordial Jade Spear are both great. There's also another 5-star weapon coming out soon called the Staff of Homa. And if rumors are correct, that staff is going to be best in slot on him. I'm not big on talking about leaks in my videos, so if you want to know more about the staff, go ahead and give it a Google. You'll find it pretty easily. If you don't have any of those weapons or can't get them, other 4-star options are the Black Cliff Pole, Deathmatch, and Prototype Star Glitter. Crescent is of course better than all of those, but sometimes you gotta work with what you got. Also, if you have a prototype polearm, definitely make Crescent over Star Glitter. For artifact sets, there are several options. 4-piece Gladiators is good if you can get a good set of that, gives you 2 different attack amps. 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Bloodstained is also great, that's what I personally use. It gives you both a base attack amp and a physical amp. Those sets are mainly focused on buffing his primary attack, but if you want to be more of a hybrid, there's 4-piece Bolide. Makes your barrier more powerful so it's less likely to break, so you can keep your barrier up longer for the 20% resistance debuff on enemies. The set also gives you a pretty fat attack amp as well. You can also go 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Noblesse, or 2-piece Bloodstained, 2-piece Noblesse. This way you're buffing your ultimate too. As far as main stats on the artifacts, Flower and Feather are of course locked. For the timepiece though, it really depends. Attack is best for buffing your primary attack. It'll also buff your pillar and barrier attack more too. Health percent still buffs those things, but not as much. However, health percent buffs all those things while also buffing your barrier, and of course your base health too. So it makes you a lot more tanky, while also giving you some more attack too. Personally, I like to go with health percent because it buffs more things and makes him a bit more well-rounded, but it's on you and what you want, or what you have. You may have a god tier substat roll on a health percent one, and a bad roll on the attack percent one, or vice versa. As for the circlet, it's one of the 2 crit ones. If your substats get you up to 50 to 60% crit rate by themselves, then go ahead and get crit damage as the main stat. If your substats don't get you there, go for crit rate. For your goblet, you want a physical main stat because again, most of your attacks are going to be physical. For substats, the best ones you can possibly get in my opinion are attack percent, health percent, and the 2 crit ones. All 4 of those would be a god roll in my opinion. Of course, flat attack and flat health are solid too, but not ideal. ER is also never a bad substat to have, it's always good on really any character. Defense of any kind and elemental mastery are not worth having though, so avoid those if possible. For talent priority, you'd want to level main attack first, and your ultimate next. You'd still want some levels in your barrier though, so it doesn't break as easy. Like here you can see I'm level 9 primary, 6 barrier, and 8 ult. Now I personally don't want to use any crowns on him, but that's because they're pretty limited and I have other characters I want to use them on. But if you really like him and want to crown him, he's definitely a worthwhile character to crown. Also another thing with talent priority, if you're running a very ult spammy supportive Zhongli, you'd want to build into ult first over the primary. Now even if you do build a DPS focused Zhongli like that, he still ends up being very supportive because of his barrier. His barrier is going to give more DPS to anyone it's on, as long as they're close enough to the enemies. It's also of course going to protect them. It's arguably the most protective barrier in the game, I can't really think of one that protects you better. If you want to go for a more support-focused, alt-spammy Zhongli, then your artifact set would be 2-piece Petra for the Geo buff, and a 2-piece Noblesse for the alt buff. In the end, both for buffing your alt. All of the artifact stats would basically be the same as the ones I said earlier, with the only difference being that your goblet would be Geo instead of physical. For the weapon, Favonius would be great because it would get you more alts, while also giving your team more alts as well. So from a pure supportive standpoint, I'd say it's the best. If you don't have it though, or you rather have a weapon that buffs your alt attack in some way, you can go with any of the pole arms I brought up earlier. Besides Crescent Pike, since physical wouldn't really buff your alt. Now who is Zhongli good with? Well, from a support standpoint, honestly, anything. You can put him with anyone, put his barrier on them, and they're probably never gonna die, and they're gonna do a lot more attack while they have the barrier on them. And characters that normally have to worry about staying back don't have to anymore because they have that barrier. So if you want to walk up and point blank a guy with Ganyu with no fear, go for it. From a DPS standpoint though, there's Albedo, who's probably the best character to run with him. You'll have the newly buffed Enduring Rock Resonance, so you'll have both a 15% barrier health and attack amp while you have a barrier on you. And of course you'll have one on you 24/7. And on top of all that, you'll also be decreasing enemy Geo resistance by 20% when attacking them. Now for Albedo specifically, he'll be giving you bonus Geo attacks with his elevator, and those attacks will be feeding you a lot of ult. And his ult will also feed you ult as well. So you'll be doing a ton of DPS while also throwing out a ton of ults. And of course his elevator resonates with the pillar. Now there are of course other characters you can run to get the resonance. Ningguang will feed him a lot of ult, and is a really great DPS character in her own right. You can also use her phase 4 talent to buff his ultimate before you use it, simply by walking through her wall. And of course her wall resonates with the pillar as well. There's also the MC. MC would mainly be to give him more ult with their C4, and more crit rate with their C1, as well as the resonate effect with the Starfell Rock. Now when it comes to Noelle, her and him weren't really great together before, because they were both the kind of characters who want to be empowered, rather than empower others. But now he can empower Noelle a ton. Her ult can hit for a massive amount when his barrier is on her. They also can both get their ults back rather quickly, if Noelle has enough people to hit with her ult before her ult runs out, that is. But with enough enemies, you can Noelle ult, get her ult back before her ult ends, swap back to Zhong, use his ult, and start the cycle again until everything's dead. So basically he offers her a massive ult attack, and Noelle offers him his ult back with the swings from her ult. Now I've even gone so far as to run Zhongli, Albedo, and Noelle all together, because I really love Geo characters and stacking them all together is incredibly powerful. The Wrath of the Rock personified. Outside of characters for the Enduring Rock Resonance though, Xinyan is good to pair with him because of her Now That's Rock and Roll talent, since it will give 15% more physical attack to anyone her barrier is on. Superconduct also buffs physical attack, so characters that can proc that work great with him too. But yeah, as you can probably tell, he's a total monster. If you have him and haven't built him yet, I heavily recommend doing so. If you don't have him, then I definitely recommend rolling for him whenever he gets a rerun banner. But anyway, that's it for this video. I want to thank y'all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys later. Bye!